So I just sent that to Ian as a drive link instead of like a YouTube video.
That's the beginning of the podcast. Is Kevin talking about Google Drive?
Oh no! Wait.
We're working. We're working double time. Some of us working double time. What are you doing up over there, Kevin? You submitting videos for
I'm submitting videos. I'm
and
working. I'm about to publish a video. So
interesting, considering that you should be recording a podcast. The greatest hour of everyone's week who listens to this. Is that right?
Do both at the same time. I can edit my video.
Kevin should do the intro or whatever he's filming on the blue screen.
Kevin, that blue screen is far too nice.
Welcome to Safety Third. I'm your host, and here is William Osmond, and here is Nigel.
Are you gonna pull down your asbestos ceiling?
Yeah.
All right, I did the math. This hour podcast that we do is wait, times 100. Am I doing this right? Is 0.6% of each person's week that listens to it. Does that sound right? 0.6%?
I mean, yeah, that probably is right.
It's about 60% of my work week.
It's 168 hours a week. So this 0.6% of your week is the best percent of your week. Leave a comment down below if that's true. This video's gonna have 0 comments.
Yeah. Wait, Kevin, what's your video?
Rocket knife.
Oh.
I'm making a new video too. My new video is going to publish as well. Is this the week? Is this the week where everybody publishes? Have you noticed that everybody seems to publish at the same time?
I wonder why that is.
Well, sometimes it's like sponsored deadlines, but I think this. No. Like something surpasses. Like this is bigger than sponsored.
You think there's some kind of like cycle that all the YouTubers sync up to, like some kind of solar moon phenomenon?
Yeah.
I just don't post, so I'm not part of this.
That's true. How do you pay your bills?
It's a question that,
The power goes off.
yeah, just, boom.
Have you talked about what your idea is? I think the video you're doing is probably, I don't want to say it's the greatest idea ever, but it's up there.
It's up there with like time spent kind of building and making and doing things.
Yeah.
'Cause I feel like it's such a cool idea that I really am like trying to spend a lot more time doing it. And like I want it to be perfect, you know?
Yeah, if I saw that title thumbnail like describing what it is, there's no way I wouldn't watch it.
Here's the thing. The rough cut is extremely rough. Like I'm going through it and I'm like, oh no.
Yeah,
like
well.
I mean
What's rough about it?
The cool stuff, like, because you know it's kind of like
say what it is. Say what it is.
It's like a rocket knife. You know, I did the old rocket knife video, but this new rocket knife, it just has a lot more knives on it, and it's a lot bigger rocket.
A lot more rocket and a lot more knife. How much more rocket is there and how much more knife is there?
About 6 times the knives and about 20 times the rocket.
Oh, damn.
So it's like...
That's 120 times the power.
It's going to be, I better get 120 times the views.
Yeah, exactly.
I did that when I was younger. I made 2-inch PVC rocket motors, which is basically a pipe bomb. Don't do this. I think we talked about this before. Mm-hmm. And maybe my fuel just wasn't as good. But I don't remember them having anywhere near as much power as what I've seen from the clips you showed me. Like,
I think it did explode in your video. That might.
Yeah. Was it? How much fuel was in these rockets? 2 pounds?
Mine about 1 pound, like 480 grams.
What was the diameter? The internal diameter or the diameter of the fuel?
1.5 inches.
Yeah, I think mine just sucked.
So I don't know. I did like. There's a lot of programs. I don't know if you use any kind of help to make them or not, but
no.
Everything pretty much has to be like really specific. Like there's an ideal nozzle diameter, like for the throat of the nozzle.
Mine was Home Depot washers with 2 nails running through the sidewalls of the tube to suspend the washer, and then I used plumber's putty to create like a ceramic nozzle.
That sounds really
I tried that too. That was my first test, and you know what happened? Guess what happened?
It exploded.
It exploded.
Huh.
So
this is very interesting results.
yeah. Wait, Kevin, I never saw the sample videos.
He posted them.
I posted them.
Yeah, but
Why
I've been in a coma. When did you post it?
Like a week ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I was in Toronto.
Oh, I think
Alan.
you were. Yeah, you were hanging out with Alan up at.
Yeah,
with
I was
Dane.
gonna come, and then I had to finish this video.
Classic
So
YouTuber excuse.
Where is Alan?
I don't know.
I haven't talked to him in I have no idea where he is, and I haven't talked to him in over a
Yeah,
week.
he's supposed to be here. on
Here,
the
yeah,
podcast.
but he hasn't responded to anybody on Discord. But he's kind of like Discord boomer. And I was supposed to go to Canada to come up and visit you, and James and Evan Kale, and that didn't happen. Did you meet Evan Kale?
I did.
How was that?
He told me that I was the greatest
fraud?
human being he's ever met.
That's how you know he's lying.
He didn't tell me that. He was a cool guy. I don't want to ruin Alan's amazing documentary.
Is he filming? No. Yeah. Okay. Well, whatever. Alan can do what Alan wants.
Alan's documentary almost failed though because he just he met Evan and then talked to him for 5 minutes. He goes, you know what? I don't need to make this documentary. I'm like, what are you talking about? You
What is
came
that?
all the way here. Alan's like, nope,
Yeah.
I got what I needed. We're like, what?
Who is Evan Kale? For people who don't know,
Oh, yeah.
There we go. Fucking podcast pro gamer. Evan Kale is if you took Evan Kale and maybe me and who's the third person? There was one and Filthy Frank, and you made a baby, you'd get Michael Reeves. So Evan Kale, I think, is, you can go look at his old videos. Well, he privated a bunch of them. Michael Reeves has been, left a bunch of comments on them, and I think that if you look at Evan's videos and Michael's videos, there's a lot of crossovers. Like if you like Michael Reeves videos, you'll probably also like Evan Kale videos. You probably know who Evan Kale is. You just haven't thought of
don't
it for a
know it.
while.
Yeah.
Yeah, he would make these just weird kind of little technology things like robots, but kind of not robots. He would do cool stuff, but less big. It was closer to the shitty robot territory, but it was never robots. It was
It was
always
also pretty educational at the same time. It wasn't just.
yeah, but he was kind of
kind of interesting inventions or something.
right. The inventions themselves were less interesting than the persona of Evan Kale.
Yeah.
Who is almost kind of feels schizophrenic or something, just very I don't know how to describe it, very chaotic in a not normal way. And he stopped making videos, and he privated a bunch of his videos, and Alan wanted to make a thing talking about why. He wanted to explore why, it's hard to I've been talking, okay, oh man, the deeper I get into YouTuber, the more slow I go with making videos, the bigger I want to do stuff. And
It's a trap, man.
it is a trap, but it's also kind of an artist thing where it's interesting stories deserve, in my mind, to be properly fleshed out. And filming a thing about Evan Kale, because I've got a couple of them right now that are in my back pocket. That we've been working on. One of them is spending, time with Mr. Beast, right? So living with Mr. Beast for some amount of time. Already did that, already filmed it. I don't really know what to do with it, and we've been having a big conversation, Ian Doki, who's helping me do everything now, about what it is, because it's not something that I would normally do. It's why would I go live with Mr. Beast, right? And it's to me, there's something really interesting in what Mr. Beast is and my experience with old YouTube. And the more we talk about it, the more I like kind of get in my own head about thinking nobody cares, right? Like, does anybody care about old YouTube?
care.
Does anybody care? I mean, I know you care, but that's the problem is we're kind of like YouTube
Kevin, you're from old
boomers.
We're
YouTube.
boomers, man.
We're not
honestly.
dead. Like, there's definitely a generation of dead YouTubers. Like,
Not dead
you know,
yet.
no offense,
Yet.
but like Kasim G, Shay Carl, Lisa Nova.
You don't need to name anybody.
No, I'm trying to build up
Just
this
saying that
timeline.
you don't have to.
Nile Red,
Nile Red, Nile Blue,
Dead too soon.
William Osmond 2.
William Osmond 2, William Osmond 1.
Yeah. Oh no, rest in
I mean
peace.
that jest. They're not actually dead. They just are like they're so early, right? Because you've got people from the era of like boomer YouTube, which is kind of us, but we came a few years after that, like ancient YouTube.
We came like
and-
many years after, yeah.
Well, because 2000, it was like
What?
2006, 2007, and then things were picking up to
I would
2010,
say
like 2010.
There was two real like ultimate turning points in YouTube. The first was when it was just made, and like you said, some of the people you named started like that early.
Yeah.
And it's like, but then the turning point was they didn't make money until I think like 2012 or something.
I would say
But I'm saying-
2010 was the turning
Or sorry,
point.
they
Like,
made money, but it wasn't open. It was like 2012
Yeah.
or something is when YouTube's like anybody. I think one
that
of
was
those
the
years-
beginning of the industrial revolution of YouTube. Was like 2010 was kind of like the trajectory began, right? Where people could see they could see the light at the end of the tunnel. Everyone was starting to like connect the dots about monetizing what essentially was more of a creative platform.
Yeah.
People were doing it privately, but then they started doing it commercially, like embedded in the platform with, MCNs and running ads.
Oh yeah,
and
yeah,
yada,
yeah,
yada.
yeah.
So, and then like Maker Studios was, like Kasim G, Shay Carl, Lisa
Yeah.
Nova. There's a whole handful, and there's a bunch of interesting stuff there, and a bunch of interesting like drama.
Okay,
and
yeah,
that's
you're
like the YouTube that I grew up with.
I feel like it had an inflection when basically you didn't have to be part of that to make money, right? So, but at the same
No.
time, no one really viewed YouTube and online stuff as something that you could just do to make money. And it was really like 2013, 2014,
Yeah.
I think is when people started the idea came forward. Because even when I put my first video up in 2014, the idea of making money on it was just not really talked about or
If
at
if
all.
you made YouTube videos in 2010, you were a loser.
Yes.
If you make videos,
Well,
in
no, you were perceived as a
2022
loser. Yeah.
No. You're a
You
loser.
were
And
a
if you make
loser.
videos in 2022, you make money, and you're also a loser.
In 2012, nobody, not a single kid, ever said that they wanted to be a YouTuber.
No.
That it just didn't exist.
Well, no,
Maybe
and
not a
Kevin,
kid,
if you
but like
said you wanted to be a YouTuber, people were like, "You're cringe."
right.
But now people, they want to do YouTube. They want to do, be
They
a
still
social
think they're
media.
Yeah, you're still cringe.
So
You
I guess
just
what
can get
what I'm
paid to be
getting at
cringe.
is like, to me, I think it's interesting how we got from the early YouTube days where
Yeah.
people were modeling themselves more after like the creative entertainment industry,
Mm.
and things have changed into what it is now, which is it's like kind of its own domain. Like no one is copying TV, no one's copying movies. Like that was the goal, right? It's like, how do you go from like YouTube is kind of like this platform that I can springboard into the media industry, and now all of a sudden it kind of like became its own industry. And I think that means a lot of there's good things, but there's also like a lot of bad things. And I don't know if people have any interest in going into that kind of journey and using living with Mr. Beast essentially as the kind of the catalyst of like, here is essentially the cream of the crop right now. Like, this is YouTube. Like, if I had to put one face on the cover of YouTube, it would probably be Jimmy. For a while it was like PewDiePie or Casey Neistat or yada yada.
Yeah,
and
for sure,
it's Jimmy, right? And it's like, dude, they hired Will Smith. They were like paying Will Smith to make videos on the platform. YouTube was hiring him, right? Like, they paid him. Like, they wanted these faces. Now all of a sudden you've got this guy who like became the face, and the platform didn't pay him anything. I don't know. Like, I don't know. Like, is it harder to make videos now than it used to be? Like, for an up and comer, like, if you were to start from scratch right now, do you think you could do it in the same way that you did it when you did it?
I think the answer is both yes and no.
Do you think that growing up and kind of growing your legs in old YouTube was a better and more successful trajectory than trying to do that now? Like it's not, is the market right now going to hinder you? It's, is the market going to keep you from learning how to do it in a good way? Does that make sense? Like a softer takeoff or a softer landing?
Yeah.
Like,
So I think that I started in 2014. Kevin was, I think you're like 2011 or something.
but what does that mean?
Earlier.
You started in 2014. How long had you been thinking about it for?
No, I didn't think about YouTube very long. I just like posted.
But you knew it was a thing before 2014.
Yeah, but I didn't put any thought into making YouTube videos.
But you watched YouTube videos.
Yeah, vaguely.
Well, you knew what it was. How would you make videos if you didn't know what it was?
Yeah, no, obviously knew what the to me it was just a video hosting like meme platform. I just
Right.
like I'd watch like 30-second memes on it. Like it wasn't really either way. Though I was going to say that I think that joining early, like I think Kevin, you were like 2011 or something, vaguely maybe.
2013, but
Okay,
that
let's
was my
say-
second channel.
Okay, but let's
So
say
I was-
let's say 2013.
Yeah.
I posted my first video in 2014. I think Will, you were like 2016 or
Correct.
2015.
Well,
I mean
on the
like
current
of your
Yeah,
current
yeah.
channel.
Yeah.
I think that like you objectively, I did not have a clue what I was doing for like 4 to 5 years, but I
No.
think the difference is that YouTube was also kind of not knowing what it was doing. So my video in comparison to everyone else was not.
Yeah, people were okay with watching a video
That
where the guy
wasn't-
doesn't know what they're doing versus today.
Yeah, so I'm saying that like I was able to make money and grow a platform, whereas I think if you started now with a crappy video, it would be much. You won't be able to be financially stable for a longer time until you get that understanding, which might prevent you from doing it at all.
Okay, let's approach it from a different angle, because this is kind of like the surface level that I'm trying to get underneath.
Okay.
Do you think that the content you watched before you started making videos affected the way you made videos?
Short answer.
Where did the inspiration
I'd say
to make
yeah.
videos?
Yeah, I think it did. I would say it did.
Do you think watching an old backyard scientist video and then wanting to make your own version of it is a lower barrier to entry than watching a Mr. Beast video and then trying to make your first YouTube video?
I see what you're saying. Yeah, for sure.
Hey, what is your expectation as a new creator making, like when you go to make your first video? How do you synthesize what that video is about? Like, what story are you telling, and where did you learn how to tell a story? Do you think seeing these like very kind of explosive, absolute like top tier, high dollar pieces of content that dominate the platform makes it difficult for people to kind of get up and running with their first videos? Because that's like the expectation that lives within their head, is they have to compete with that.
I think so.
Yeah.
But on the
I'd
other
say
hand,
yeah.
it doesn't have to be like that, because there's, a lot of people who make kind of by today's standards really kind of stupid and, unpolished videos, and they do great. Like most of TikTok, honestly.
I think it matters what demographic or what kind of content you're making. So for example, when I started, I did watch Kevin's videos and see, oh, that's how he filmed it, that's how he did it. But it's just like, again, it was, it's just a guy with a camera in his backyard. It felt very accessible. So when I was just a guy with a camera, I was kind of like 50% of what Kevin was doing. Whereas I can see now where they're like, oh, okay, they have all these gadgets. There's a whole, they've done all of these things. Kevin, like you said, you're like perfecting the story. And as a guy just starting, I'm like, dude, I have like 3 days to make this video after work.
Yeah.
Like, I can't do
exactly.
that. So I could see that someone sees that and goes, I just can't do it. And I can see that being like a big barrier of entry. And especially in certain realms, now for like the science stuff, I feel like it would just make a lot of people give up, because there's just so much time investment and money investment that they're like, well, everything I make is crap.
Yeah.
And they just quit.
So I think like, to me, my question is like, what is the most interesting story to explore? Is it, if anybody listening to this has, an opinion, like, do you want to hear about what I think it's like to be a new creator now? Like, do people have interest in becoming YouTubers themselves? Do they want to hear about kind of the history of YouTube, or do they want to hear about like what like I think there's like a couple different angles. It's, one, new creators. What is it like to be a new creator right now versus back then, and trying to analyze and think about and, talk to people and from then and now and just put together a story about what can you do now to try to succeed if everyone does collectively agree, it is a little bit more difficult to start now.
Are you thinking about maybe more like literally what it's like to be with Mr. Beast for 24 hours or what his schedule is like?
Well, that's the thing is we filmed that and I just don't know what to do with it because it's just kind of like I'm with Mr. Beast and it's like, who cares, right? I know people are going to watch it, but they're not going to watch it for the reason that I want them to watch it.
I think it's harder going just to comment on like difficulty of getting started. I just want to say, I think it's motivationally much harder, but the reason why TikTok and other stuff has taken off, I think is kind of a response to how high effort everything has become. And it created a vacuum where I'm like, I just want to see a guy like throw something at a wall. But then Kevin's like, nah, I need a whole story. I need this. And it has to be a 12-minute video. Yeah. But then there's a vacuum of kind of easy access content. So it's like, weirdly enough, that market is still there, but I think it's easy to see what you think is expected of you and then just completely give up and not try. But there still is, small science stuff that doesn't need a huge thing, and you can get a pretty decent following.
So what do you think is like the most interesting angle? Is it the new creator angle? Is it talking about how like YouTube as a whole and analyzing like, is the system and the algorithm, is it actually kind of eating itself alive where it's allowing people to get a lot of views and publish content and make money, but it's kind of like it's stagnating or choking growth at the bottom where people are having a more difficult time coming up. And so it's kind of like, commentary on the platform and, like the experience that people think that we have with YouTube versus the experience we actually have, with YouTube. Or is it like looking at kind of what people think being a successful YouTuber is? Like what I thought about YouTube when I came into it, and what I think about now, and am I just an old man who's like a little bit more crusty, or have things changed drastically? Like, did the pandemic drastically change the YouTube ecosystem? Like, is there less of a community than there used to be? Like, I don't know if you guys feel like that, but to me it kind of feels like I don't really associate any person with the platform anymore. It used to be like for a while Casey Neistat, right, was like a poster child, or Logan Paul. And now it kind of just feels like this dumping ground for videos, and there's not really anything that's like YouTube.
There's no way. And every time I go on YouTube, it's like I discover that I've been completely like isolated in one corner of YouTube. Yeah. I hear about all these other people, and it's like I don't know about them. YouTube never shows me any of their videos. They're not popping up on trending.
Right.
They're not getting shown to me in the
feed. And this is like, because I've talked to a couple people that work there, and they've said, like, I think they didn't really understand what I was asking, where I was talking about like the long-term problems that the algorithm might cause. Like, just because the algorithm's doing a really good job delivering content, which I think it does, I think they've created the perfect algorithm. But do you know what the perfect food is? It's like heroin.
Yeah,
but you can't
exactly.
You can't just eat heroin.
Like, but heroin gives you everything that you need, which is just dopamine. Like, you only need dopamine. Well, like, you just need to feel good. Like, that's your entire life revolves around feeling good.
You're gonna
like,
have to add some sugar to that heroin.
You could, but like,
and the YouTube algorithm just curates like the highest quality and the most potent and
And I think there's a feedback loop where like it causes creators to only like feed into that drip. And part of me thinks that you're kind of like you're like starving people or building up like a really like a tolerance to stuff and like kind of perpetuating this perfect delivery system.
I think that's true for sure. And the only way I discover new creators now is on YouTube Shorts, is by like going through the shorts, and then I find somebody I like, and wow, look, they have like a channel and they only have 100,000 or 50,000 subscribers, but they've been doing this for years and I've never seen their videos before. So I think that maybe that's changing.
So I don't know. I mean, what seems the most interesting? Is it about, up and comers? Is it about the platform itself, like being too good? Is it about me trying to figure out if I'm an old man yelling at the clouds, or if it actually does feel a little bit more vacant? Like it feels more like a giant convention center that's got a single table in the middle, and you're just kind of like, there's too much space in here for how little stuff there is. Like, it just feels vacant, and I don't know if that's me. I don't know if it was the pandemic. I don't know if it's the platform. I have no idea what it is.
you're gonna hate me when I say that all of those ideas sound good, and I think that there's a way to probably tie it all into each other without like focusing on one thing too much.
I have an answer or two answers.
Yeah. Just make
three
stupid
answers.
videos.
I have as many answers as you want. No.
Okay.
One thing I'd say is I do think the pandemic played a lot, and the problem is, especially with TikTok and other platforms, a lot of creators grew on them, but then they weren't able to actually. There's no place to meet them. They all stayed within their own bubble. So then now when things open up again, it's kind of like people just aren't used to doing things.
You remember how we met, right?
VidCon.
Yeah. Do you know who didn't have any participation in like sponsoring VidCon this year?
YouTube.
YouTube.
Yeah.
And it's like, we met and we're doing this because of YouTube. But I also feel like YouTube's just sort of like not doing that or providing those opportunities anymore.
I don't know why they weren't the sponsor of VidCon, but I just wanted to comment on the ideas you have. My general answer...
They're shit.
What?
He's going to say they're shit.
My answer is they're all bad. No. I don't know. I feel like focusing on what really matters to you, which is probably, like Kevin said, a mix of all these different things. Just kind of like figuring out what story you personally want to tell.
Yeah, I guess I'm worried about like being too negative. Like after the, the I'm done video where it was just a total
I thought
like
you were done.
I mean, it's like
What
a
happened to
breakdown
that?
for a variety of reasons. Like I almost have a hard time referencing certain things in videos because like I'm trying to stay away from those kinds of like not mentalities. But it was a combination of crunched. Like I was just too crunched. I was like trying to keep up with the space. I could go in it for days, and I feel like I don't even really want to go down that rabbit hole. But it had me thinking a lot about a lot of different things, about, doing YouTube videos and having it be kind of like this dream job, but also at the same time, like causing all these, like mental anguish issues and trying to figure out like what am I doing wrong? Like, why am I having so much trouble doing this? Cause like, I like making videos and I like doing stuff, but there was just this this junction that I was having trouble with. And, it's hard to explain it to people. Cause a lot of, some people will just be like, oh, well, you should be happy people are watching your videos. And it's like, I am, but I'm also, struggling like a lot.
The way that I explain it, and I've told people this, is it feels like you're in a perpetual exam period. So it's like the moment you finish one exam, you're scrambling to study for the next one, and you don't even have time to celebrate, because once you write that one exam, you're kind of scared you failed, but you also don't have time to think too much about it because you have to get started studying for your next one. So if you're posting on like a monthly basis, that's what it would be. Like it takes you a month of constant filming and editing. The moment you're done, you're like, well, I better start again or else I won't be done for the next one.
I feel like content is going to come back around to where it was in the early days of YouTube, kind of more to a more impersonal kind of like you're hanging out with the person more than like a higher produced video with a story. And I think that's why a lot of these content like collectives do good, like say offline TV videos. And I think Twitch streamers kind of have that going on. Like look at TikTok and look at YouTube Shorts. It all feels more personal kind of and less like this big beast. And it feels like less of a
agree with
hurdle
that.
to jump in and watch the video.
I feel like we talked a bit about it when you were here, and I kind of like I feel like there's some stuff I do want to save, like if I do like the documentary or whatever it is.
A documentary.
Exploration.
You're now
I don't want to call
making
it
a
documentary. I'm just saying if it's longer, like this is a video that you can't do in like 8 minutes. Like this is probably a 30-minute video.
That's good.
If not more.
Daps?
Yeah.
So Daps is for people who don't know, he's like a member of our Safety Third community Discord. He hangs out on there. He also has a YouTube channel, and he got 800,000 subscribers, almost 900,000 now in like 1 year. And he pretty much just posts shit posts, like they're like meme videos, but it's him. He's not like doing meme edits or anything like that. And he got a ton of views, a ton of subscribers, and he kind of quit. It was too much pressure for him. He kind of, I don't know. He says he got bored with it, but.
That's the thing, is nobody will give you the real answer. And I know for a fact there's no way he got bored with it. 100%. It's much deeper and much more like complainy than that. And
I feel like there's a way to talk about it without coming off as, complainy.
I tried to do it when I did it, and people still called me complainy, which is fine. But I just like,
my point is you can still do it. Like, it's still possible to grow on YouTube. And I think he had success because he is kind of like the opposite of what most YouTube is right now.
Yeah.
It's just some dude making funny videos.
I definitely want to talk to him about it. I have a list of people that I would want to talk to in this to try to like explore the idea. But and I like, like Kevin, I think has a good perspective from just being on the platform for so long. You're like you're like one of those trees that was alive when the dinosaurs were alive.
How many? Yeah, with 8 million rings.
Right. We're gonna cut Kevin open and see how many rings he's got. But like the original reason that I wanted to film the 24 hours with Mr. Beast, is I wanted to like see if I thought he was happy.
I think that's a pretty decent, like.
Yeah, but like also I had like just done a video about, like dealing with negativity on the platform and kind of, being a whiny ass about it and sort of like, and I like PewDiePie remember the video he did ages ago where he talked about positivity and how there's like this expectation of positivity and how he was extremely like not having a good time, but every video he made was putting that smile on, putting his Joker makeup on.
I think that it's kind of that's just part of being a public personality, is that there are situations where you can show certain things, but it's like there are situations where you kind of can't, because whether you want to think about it or not, like that, the videos you make are they're some sort of presentation, right?
Yeah, I just don't want people to think I'm miserable. Like I'm not miserable. I just feel like when you talk about stuff like this, they think you're miserable.
I think
it's like no.
The way that you can talk about it. Like if there is a way to talk about it without coming across as sounding like you're just complaining about it, right?
Yeah, but the problem with a video like this is that it has to be essentially about a problem. Otherwise, why are you sharing it with people?
Yeah.
So it's like inherently documentaries are like kind of negative. Like they're always about something that people will find interesting, and your brain is sort of tuned to that negativity. So like even from making normal videos, there's always like a problem usually. Like not always, but I've noticed that those tend to do better when you have a problem.
So my answer to you too would be the fact that you still do YouTube, right? Means that the minuscule amount of pleasure outweighs the what's it called, the misery. But it's if you can, I mean, so there's clearly a reason why you still do YouTube. So I feel like if you did do a documentary where it's like, let's say mildly negative, but then it ends on the note of being like, despite this, I'm still doing it because of this, which is true. I'm assuming it's like, then that's fine. If it's just an entire video of you saying bad, and then overall bad, it's just kind of like, okay, that's just a complaint video.
I have an answer. I don't know if I want to share it here, but I would say the fact that I feel like there's not a strong community is probably the biggest pointer as to like my overarching feelings. Like I like that. That's why I got into YouTube.
Yeah.
Was because of the idea of this like physical place that you could imagine YouTube existing. Kind of like the first VidCon I went to in 2018. Like the first VidCon I went to in 2018, that was YouTube. And I feel like that doesn't exist anymore. And I can't tell if it's because I'm an old man yelling at the clouds.
It sounds a little bit like an old man.
I think a lot of it is the pandemic, though, to be honest, because even before that, like in 2019, my friends that I grew up with or have known for years, it was like every single weekend you were at somebody's house, something was happening, people were always inviting you to events. This year,
yeah, totally.
Kind of either like that changed or you're a loser now.
No. The moment, because we had pretty harsh shutdowns now. we had pretty harsh shutdowns in 2020, but it was very strong. It went from seeing the same people almost every single weekend to not seeing them for a year and a half or more.
Yeah.
And then it's like a lot of them I just barely talk to. And then I even see it with my brother. I used to do something with my brother and some of my other friends like all the time. And even at our office, people are very lazy about doing stuff in the evening. I'll be like, let's go do this. I kind of want to just go home and it's not just getting old. It's that there was a time where you did that every single day and there was no other option. And a friend of mine even told me the other
I
day.
think that's getting old.
No, he goes, I just
Or
had
it's the mRNA spike proteins
But my friend
in your brain.
told me, he goes, I just had a bunch of people over to my house the other day to watch a UFC fight. And he goes, I felt nervous. And he goes, not because of like being loud from my neighbors or anything. He goes, I felt I was doing something wrong. He goes, I felt that if
That's
I
weird.
told people that I had a whole get together, that people would look at me going, ooh,
Judge
you're going to
me.
spread something. So he goes,
I mean, I'm not saying he's weird, but that whole phenomenon's weird because I think it's kind of common.
yeah, but he's just saying that even now, which you've been able to have get-togethers here for like a long time, he still is like, ooh, I don't know if people are going to judge me for this. So he's now like
Kind of
more
a little
hesitant.
bit of like PTSD energy.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
Like,
Did you ever feel
yeah.
anything like that, Will?
Yeah, when we, I think it was like 2020 December, we went to our family's house for, I think Christmas or Thanksgiving or something, and I was filming a video where we were making old Jell-O recipes.
yeah, I remember that,
in
yeah.
Chelsea, and I felt like I was gonna get in trouble for posting a video of me going to family
Yeah.
for the holidays.
Yeah, but that's different than feeling like guilty.
Yeah, but that's what it was. It was like I
And it
felt like I was
broader-
sort
like
of
a
like there was
social
this
pressure,
Yeah.
it's still, it for sure is still a thing that people are dealing with. Like I know, for example, Zach, one of my friends who works with me, he went to a concert and he got COVID. This was like a month ago. And he was telling me that he felt very judged for it because he would tell people he got COVID for going to a concert and they'd be like, oh, well, what? Oh, it's like this type of concert? Oh, well, what were you thinking? And then like he felt guilt for it. And then he could tell when someone else would be like, oh, I'm going to go out for a party, a Halloween party at a club. People would be like, oh, why do you have to go and do that? So there
And this is only a month ago.
what?
What you're taught, your story, like your example.
Yeah.
This only happened like,
Because,
that's so weird. I feel like it's so different here in America.
but if you get COVID, for example, like in the workplace, where like you can't come in while you have COVID, you're going to infect all of us. So then he's kind of like stuck at home.
Every time I go somewhere, I just embrace it. I'm like, well, here we go.
I know, but the one exception I make is if someone has it at the workplace, it's like if everyone catches it, we're just shut down.
Here's my thought. Like I've got all the vaccinations. I wash my hands a shit ton. I try to be as safe as possible. At some point, you just gotta get on the airplane. You gotta pull on the highway. You gotta get on the elevator. Like you might die. Yeah.
No, but I
Right.
agree.
I've done everything I can.
But
and if I die, eh.
But I totally agree. But it's like, just if someone has a cold, I'm going to be like, if you can work from home, you should just work from home. Like, there's no point in getting it. Before 2019,
Right.
Reggie came in with a cold and he infected Corey. And Corey was...
That's kind of a toxic work culture that it just exists in like the West of showing up to work no matter what.
Yeah, I'd say that is another reason why we're so different. When we were in Japan, I was reading like an article in the paper. I was like translating it with my phone, and they were saying that kids over there, they don't take their mask off, like even for
Yeah, you were
PE,
telling me
because
that,
they feel
yeah.
so secure with it. And the teacher would say, "Okay, take your mask off. You're running around the track," and only like a third of the class did, and then another half the class
They're just, like,
pulled
fearful.
it down. Yeah, so I think that's kind of a like definitely unintended side effect is creating some kind of like
I think...
I don't know, anxiety in kids.
I think for... Well, I think
I don't
for...
know how prevalent that is either, because Japan is also kind of a little bit
Weird.
Yeah.
biased towards
But
that.
kind of what Will just said, where he's like, at some point you got to just like rip off the Band-Aid and, get on the highway. I think even having that mentality is part of the problem, in the sense that like, that was how you had to get out of the hole, right? You're like, I'm vaccinated. What more can I do? But then for the first few things you go to, you're like, is this going to take me out? Is this going to be like the COVID hit? And then only
Yeah.
then it kind of eases up. But even then, like when we went to VidCon, I was like, we're probably going to get slaughtered. And pretty much everyone I know got COVID.
it's gonna happen.
But I'm just saying, like, just having that, where there's like this perceived risk, I think people are hesitant to be like, oh, I don't want to have 30 people at my house. What happens if one guy is sick and doesn't tell us and then we all get smoked? I'll just have a small get together of 5 people. It's like, it just limits people from, taking that extra social step. And I think that still is a thing today. Like my friends used to always have get-togethers at their house, and now when I've asked them, they
They
go,
used to invite me. Now they don't invite me.
well, no, they
know what?
only invite like 5 or 6 people. When you ask why, they go,
And it's never me.
well, things on.
I think what you just said is the perfect analogy to old YouTube versus YouTube.
old nude tube.
Old YouTube versus
Nude
YouTube.
tube. Nude tube.
I am hungry. I haven't eaten dinner yet.
So you're
But
thinking of
basically,
nudes?
like, the risk. Nobody's afraid to really take the risk because they're more worried about getting, they're worried about getting judged by other people. They're worried about people like, comparing
Okay,
themselves
that's-
to other people,
yeah.
or they're like the pressure on them. And I think back then there wasn't
There was
really as much
zero.
pressure. And, if you feel like there's a risk, you're not going to do
You're
it.
gonna stay a bit safer. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
you can't really be creative and worry about what people are going to think about you or your
That's
video.
true. I mean, that's
You
definitely
kind of just
true.
have to not care
Kevin,
what people
but
think.
I used to upload videos without even watching them. I would just render
Exactly.
and upload.
But now it's like, people start picking your videos apart and you kind of feel more self-conscious about it, and that leads to
but I think it's.
more
I think
fear.
it's. I still think it's deeper. I still think that there's something like
Psychologist William
subconscious where it's like you the bar in your head is set too high. It's like if I'm gonna draw a picture or make a comic, it has to be funny. Like
'cause that's the fear.
But is it fear of being judged, or is it fear of being like not performing?
I think there's just a lot of expectations you feel that your audience has.
If you don't take the risk and just do it, then there's no possible way you can get any sort of reward from it.
But then why are you
No.
making videos? Right? So it's like, are you making videos so that people watch them? Are you making videos so that because you think you can make money? Are you making videos because it's like a fun thing to do, or there's some part of it that you enjoy?
I think that no matter what the answer is, feeling like you're not making a video because you're afraid what somebody else will think, that's like all in your head, because people will like it and they won't even notice half of the stuff that you notice in the video. Like I said that this cut was kind of rough for the video I just sent in to get reviewed. If I showed that to my mom, she would like it.
Yeah.
If I showed it to you guys right now, you'd probably think it was a
And
finished video
the thing-
or close to it.
The thing too that's rough
Even
when you're
me?
editing, I think what's weird when you're editing stuff is that you've seen the clips so many times that all the nuances. But when you show it to somebody once, which most people watch the video once, maybe twice, like, if you're lucky, but it's like usually once, they've never seen it before. So it's kind of like someone just telling you something that you've never heard before, and like it feels like the information is too quick. Things
how
just
many
pass
times you've
right
gone through
by
the
them.
comments
Like they're just
of a video and they're like, oh, I like this part at whatever timestamp, and then you click on it and you're like, oh, I totally missed that part. You were thinking about what they said or something.
well, because you're just you're seeing all these images for the first time, so you're like, oh, hey, there's that thing.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're not even, while you're looking at one thing, you're not even hearing what you're saying, or they're listening to you
Exactly.
and they kind of zone out from what's on the screen. They look away at their phone, and it's like you're meticulously editing and doing all these things, and some of them they don't even notice.
So why do you think that a lot of most of the groundbreaking works come from newer artists in whatever field? Like
It's like a
music,
startup.
actors.
Because they're willing to take the
Yeah.
risk, and it's also a great filter as well, where if you've got a bunch of people doing stuff, of course you're going to see the success, and so there's always someone doing something weird, and sometimes it works really well.
But I think, to Kevin's point, at the same time, the people who, like you said, some people faded away, the old dinosaurs of YouTube vanished.
Yeah, why didn't they stay great?
But I think that the people who there are some people who've managed to kind of stay that way. They just changed. They changed their content. They fundamentally took a risk to do things differently. And then they got a new audience. The people who were watching them were revitalized because they see something new. I think if you stop taking risks, you kind of just fall apart. But I do think that a lot of people at the top, even if they are taking a lot of risks, they do become much more measured out of like this fear of, backlash.
What's the most real job you've had working with other people? Not YouTube.
Real jobs. I can't remember those.
Like in a
Dunkin'
lab
Donuts?
or something?
Dunkin'
You worked
Donuts.
at Dunkin'?
I worked at a
Yeah,
grocery
I had
store.
a
I worked in the
couple-
lab. Wait,
What was the best part of working at the grocery store?
the customers. It was fantastic speaking to each and every super polite customer who came in.
I don't believe
No, the weird thing
like,
is my
I would
customers.
say it is. I worked at a grocery
Yeah.
store too.
My customers were super polite and fun, but that was a
Okay,
very atypical experience.
Yeah.
It was hanging out with
Socializing.
like your coworkers and stuff.
And I think that is like something that is hard to describe. Like it's a job, but the social aspect of it is the part I enjoy the most. Like it's like, you know, people who are doing the same thing as you, you're kind of in the same boat, you're in the same struggle. Like your boss is an asshole, you share the same boss, common enemy, high five, let's go do drugs after work.
That's way too accurate to my time in the grocery store.
And I think that like it's very similar on YouTube, except it's very easy to not have that socialization
Yes.
because you're doing everything by yourself. And I used to do everything with John, but that stopped at some point. And I kind of noticed that it was harder for me to do things because I was just in a room doing stuff by myself. Like I kind of lost the like camaraderie part of it. And I think that on the platform on YouTube, that's probably what I enjoy the most is that camaraderie. Like, you know, they say you never want to be the smartest person in the room.
It's true.
You don't, because you'll never aspire to do more or enough. Like if you're in a room full of very smart people, it's going to make you feel like you need to up your game. It's going to make you try harder. It's going to make you bust your ass. And that is the experience I've had working at normal jobs with a bunch of very smart people. Was like, holy shit, these guys are super smart. I want to do these things. And I would try stuff and I'd ask questions. And I think it's basically how I learned everything that I know now is that pressure it put on me and the sort of door, the window it opened so I could see what the possibilities are. And I think that I used to feel more strongly about that on YouTube when it was more communal, you know, whether it's the platform or the pandemic or whatnot. And I think there's something a little bit, you know, sad about losing that in any capacity. As like less events or people just, you know, straying away from collaborative content because they kind of perform worse typically. I mean, like, could you imagine doing a collaboration video on Now Red?
Well, I mean, as a point of that, it's a bad example because as a point, I never did collabs, even when like in 2014.
Right.
I was collabs
why?
are lame.
Well, that's what I'm saying is that sort of what has happened is collaborations have been deemed inferior.
Oh, I
content.
deem them inferior because I just don't like them from the very beginning. I've never collabed.
But people typically do them poorly. I mean, not typically, but a lot of times do them poorly. And so it's sort of built up a bad rap. And it kind of just feels like some people, I don't know if they were making fun of me or if they were endorsing it, but the idea of like the podcast being like a social opportunity that is relatively rare in your day-to-day life. Like, you don't, how often do you, I mean, you work with your friends, so it's a little bit different, but like Kevin's just, you know, like me, a loser at home.
Kevin, defend yourself.
It's true.
So
It's true.
I would say
And I like it that way.
the one thing that because I've thought about this a lot, because I remember telling somebody, if you join YouTube to make friends, you've chosen the wrong reason to join YouTube, because it's not because
I'll fight you on
well, no,
this.
it's not because of YouTube. That I just say that a lot of people tell me they joined YouTube to have a community and to have friends, and then you speak to a lot of them and they go, why don't I have that? Some people do. Some people do. I'm just saying a lot of people say they don't. And it's because you start to realize that the platform doesn't give that to you. And I think when you were starting as a creator, when you were a young creator with a
Young and
fresh
healthy.
look on life, you had motivation, and there was less pressure to produce videos and to put work into it. And I remember I would do things that I would never do now just because of how time wasteful it is. Like, I was kind of like, I need dry ice. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my university downtown, which is like a 20-minute drive, have lunch with a friend of mine who I haven't seen in a while. I spent 2 hours with him just so that he would give me a handful of dry ice. It literally took like 4 hours. And then what happened though is I found out that I had a budget and there's also a dry ice supplier closer to me. So I stopped going to see my friend for that purpose. But I'm saying that when I was starting on YouTube, that was a totally viable thing. And when you have no budget, I would go and just like help people for hours for like a small little thing. Whereas now I'm just like, no, I don't have time to do that.
You know what you said to me when we first met?
What? I'm ready to defend myself.
Once my channel got big, I was waiting for people to like.
Oh
hit
yeah,
me
yeah,
up.
yeah. And never happened.
But why were you waiting for that? Where did that expectation
I wasn't
come from?
waiting. It's this like it's not an expectation, but this is why I'm saying that.
No, but you were saying that you were kind of confused, or it was like you just sort of thought people were gonna like start hitting you up to do things.
No, because you model it. At least I did. I find that I've spoken to some people who do it like that too. You kind of model YouTube as what your experience in, like you said, like a normal job or like school, where the answer was like, dude, if I go to class every day, I'm just bound to make friends. So like the idea was, I'll just keep putting out YouTube videos. You build a community. It's like you're just bound to bump into people and make friends. And the answer is kind of like, no, it's not like a class where I'm just sitting next to the same person all the time and I end up I never thought about it when I was in school. Whereas on YouTube, it's like, no, you do have to reach out to people. You have to put in like an active effort to build the community, or else it doesn't just happen.
Yeah, but it's not that far away from just being in class sitting next to somebody.
It's not, because you could go reach out to pretty much any YouTuber.
I did.
And just
I actually did reach
like,
out to a well-known science YouTuber, and it's weird.
Oh, no.
Never responded to me. And then after that, I just quit.
The conversation was generally pleasant.
I thought you were saying generally bad. And you go,
just like the real world, you plan on doing something. Yeah, we're totally going to do it this weekend, and then.
But it's.
then it never happens.
So that's.
What is this about? Is this podcast about how to make friends?
Yes.
Is that where we are?
How to lose friends?
No, I think that it's kind of too where like I was mentioning to a friend the other day too, because they're complaining about how they're just like, nobody likes doing anything anymore. And I was like, yeah, partly from the pandemic maybe, but they're like, no, it just doesn't happen. And I go, yeah, because when you were in school, everyone was in the same like kind of level in life, same goals, same everything. You didn't have to put any effort into it. I'm like, but now you're living a life post university or school where you have to put in
that's
effort.
what it is more than anything.
It is, but it's also 2 years, 2.5 or 3 years post COVID as well. I think that 3 years kind of blindfolded people to some of the natural changes they would have experienced.
Yes, I do agree. I just think that making connections with anybody is work. Like is genuinely a lot of work. And I went into YouTube just thinking it was like university, where you're just like, man, because I knew everyone in my program. There's stuff every weekend. Like I was hanging out with someone all the time. But then I go to YouTube and I'm like, if I'm just there enough people, like I'm bound to interact. And then I was like, nope. But I mean, even just Twitter interactions, it's like, it's like going to random parties all the time. That's a terrible example, actually. It's just that in order to make, like, to know you.
Well, what about that Minecraft server we were a part of? The Epic SMP? We played on that for a while. You could have kept playing on it and hanging out with them. That was probably like the lowest barrier to entry of hanging out with YouTubers, just get to play video games.
But it's like...
Yeah.
But the question is, like, then how would you... Like, do you talk to any of those? You talk to some of them, right? That you met in there?
Yeah, depends. Like, some people just you have more in common with than others.
Yeah. I just think it just takes work
well, I
and
think
effort.
that's maybe what, Nigel's kind of saying, is you think you're all going to be one community, but it's still like you can't be friends with everybody. You still have to have something in common with them besides, I guess, making videos.
That's kind of the whole, like, arc of this, right? Is that I feel like early YouTube, up until, maybe 5 years ago, maybe a little bit more, was very kind of, it felt like a community. It felt like you could kind of like grab it and hold it up. And it was communal, right? Like Maker Studios had a physical space in like Santa Monica or something, and there was like even like Casey Neistat with the whole 368 thing, right? It was like trying to build this thing. They had the YouTube space, which is a physical location that multiple across the world, where YouTube made it so that you could go there and collaborate and use the studios
messed that
and
up,
equipment.
though. They said that you had to have like an appointment
it was extremely bad, and they really did a horrible job doing it. And I want them to know that they did a horrible job. I think they already know. I don't have to explain it to them. But you know what I thought the first time? I was like, I'm gonna go to the YouTube space. There's gonna be YouTube people there. It's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be, and it was like a doctor's office. Horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was kind of depressing.
at the end of the day, I think that putting people in the same room and like providing opportunities for connections like VidCon where we met
Yes.
is the most important part of making YouTube, to me, feel like that work environment where you are friends with your coworkers, which I see a lot of posts on Reddit that talk about how much they like hate their coworkers and they don't want to be friends with people or hang out with them outside of work, which to me is fine, but it also feels extremely antisocial and introverted unless you really hate these people. Because
Yeah, usually people are
There's
that
something-
horrific. Usually. You do get some horrific.
People just like to complain. If you made a post saying, "Oh, I love my coworkers, everything's fine,"
yeah,
you're
People-
you're only going to see the worst of the worst getting pushed
I
up.
do want to say one thing though,
guess.
Will. Like, I think the VidCon, I agree with you on everything you said pretty much, but it's like, I think VidCon is a good example of what I was talking about. You can view that as like going back to school to a certain extent, where it's like everyone's there with a common goal. The event's like 4 days, like no one has, and everyone's just there for the same reason for a set amount of time. So it's like everyone just wants to hang out. Everyone's goal is to hang out. It's like I met you, I met a whole lot, probably like the majority of the creators I know. I just met from that one
at that one
VidCon.
event. Yep.
But then the question is like, how many did I meet over the internet? And then how many did I meet after that over the internet? And the answer is a fraction of that. And then when did I meet people again? Creator Clash, VidCon again.
Yep.
I think the problem is YouTube is a social platform, but in reality, you never really
It's
get to
antisocial.
meet. Like, you don't ever become friends with anyone unless you kind of do something for a long period of, or a significant period of time.
That's real life
Yeah.
though. That's, I mean, you're it's always going to be like difficult to make friends with people, and some people are just built different than others. But I would say it's a lot easier to become friends with people based off of even a single in-person.
Oh no, that's what I'm
experience.
saying. I'm saying.
Yeah.
So I'm saying that online, even though it's like a social platform, even if you put in all the effort and meet people, they're not really. It doesn't really feel real until you're in person, and you kind of like see each other's mannerisms. You're kind of like, okay,
You can't
cool.
spit on them.
like
You
they're
don't
friends.
really know them.
Yeah.
So unless you have those in-person events, you will not. It's never feels right that you really know the person.
like any other relationship, you only get out, what you are willing to put
Yeah.
in.
No, for sure.
And I've met a couple of YouTubers, where I'm like, oh, this is a cool person, and I'd like to hang out with them more, but I feel like it's harder to hang out as friends with a lot of YouTubers because they're very they have a one-track
Yeah.
mind a lot of the time, and it's content. And
Yeah, but that's, I feel a part of the experience of meeting new people is sometimes they are on the same page, and sometimes you think they're on the same page, but they actually have, some squirrel brain or some, you never know.
yeah,
And you end up figuring it out eventually. Like you can filter out who's doing what for why, and I think that's kind of a part of like the bigger discussion of like why I'm on YouTube is like, why do I like doing this? There's reasons I don't like doing it. There's reasons I do like doing it. And one of the reasons is the socialization. And so it's like, I am always down to just do stuff, making a video or not making a video. Some people just, they don't care about anything else. It's like, nope, I got to go do this. Like they're either antisocial or they just
Yeah.
have, got to do the thing. Maybe they don't like you. That's fine. But having those in-person experiences will provide the opportunity to meet people that don't want to hang out with you and people that do want to hang out with you.
it's true.
Oh, 100%. Absolutely.
You miss every swing you don't swing. How does that go?
But
Not like that.
moving on. I won't tell you. Just leave you hanging.
No.
That's what I think. I think why the recent VidCon was kind of weird, especially because it was sponsored by TikTok. I spoke to some of the TikTokers. I'm a TikToker, so like
Slang.
I got them. I understood them. But one of them told me, they go, "This is the first event I've ever been to that someone else does TikTok," and he's like, "There's kind of never been a major event." So he goes, half the people here have never met in person, more than half. This is their first interaction in person, even though some of them have known each other for like a year or more just over TikTok.
Well, yeah, TikTok's, kind of new relatively. And during the during COVID is, I would say it was definitely blowing up then too.
And a lot of YouTubers blew up too. So then you have this event where probably I'd say the majority of people have never met each other.
Yeah.
I remember walking into the room and being like, I don't recognize anybody. So then you turn to the person you do know. And I think everyone kind of did that.
It's also an extremely diverse group of creators. It was like way too diverse.
We need
Like-
less diversity.
We need less. We need we need to concentrate them into YouTube long form content and short form content. I think there's something a little bit cursed about bringing two platforms into the same event.
But I think that it will eventually blend together.
Now that you can post shorts on your channel and not have them appear right next to your main videos.
No, I think that's just in the app. I think it's still a disaster on your channel. I know.
No, really?
Yeah, no.
Kevin thought he had.
Do you think they would do it? You think they would do it how they should have done it from the very beginning, and then spend like a year trying to do it, and then never do it? It took them this long to separate the shorts and long form and live streaming in the app. They should have had 3 apps. I think that separating them in the app is definitely the right way to do it, and I don't know why it took so long. All right, well, that was fun. If you would like to make friends with us, you can pay us money on our Patreon.
Yep,
Safety Tier
how any true
Patreon.
friendship starts.
This is how every true friend. Hey, I've made friends.
Actually, that's not even
with
that.
people that.
Yeah, that's not that inaccurate.
There are many people
That you've paid
that I
to
have
be
met in
friends
real
with.
life and become friends with that I have paid to be friends with.
Yes.
So that's no promises, but we hired 2 people. I've paid 1, 2, 3,
Yeah.
4 people.
From the server.
5. Wait, oh my God! Almost everyone who did the Squid Game video, who was like
Yeah, so
engineering
that
that
was
project, were people that watched my
Hacker.
videos. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
insane.
I was actually confused when I went there. I was like, where'd all these people come from? They're all like,
They're William Osmond
yeah,
fans.
we're, like,
That is
we're just
so
Discord
cool.
guys. And I'm like, oh,
Oh
cool.
my God! Wow, that's actually astounding.
So if you get
That's
on the
really, really
Discord, you
funny.
can get hired. Are you
That's
looking for
actually
a
really
job?
bizarre now that I think
Join
about
the
it.
Discord.
I'm kind of freaking out now. I just realized all my friends are people that I've met because they watch my videos.
Oh God. See, that is how you leverage your channel for community.
Anyways, if you want to support the podcast, we have a Patreon. You get things. We've got 2 tiers. You get extras, which I swear to God, they don't get posted, and we're going to post. There's going to be a flood of them once we have somebody editing them. And if you're in the advanced Gigabrain tier, what is it, Galaxy Brain?
Yeah.
I'll send you a Polaroid. So thank you to everybody who supports us on Patreon. Here's the names of those people floating around on the screen. All 10,000 of them.
10,000.
It's not. No, it's not. It's not anywhere. I think I actually have no idea how many it is.
It's probably like,
How many?
you can check.
I don't know, like 3, at least 3.
It's quite a bit.
All right, we're gonna record an extra right now. We're gonna do a Q&A. I feel like we haven't done those. We've ignored those. We're gonna ask very interesting questions, such as we'll give you a teaser. We're gonna give you guys a teaser right now.
we should all give-
These questions are gonna be extremely good, and you're gonna
quality.
hear them. And
We
you're
should
gonna
give
be like,
teaser
oh, man,
answers
I
as
have to
well.
go. Yes, yeah, exactly. So here's the first question. I think we answered this last time, but Patreon question: is the Patreon questions dead? No.
Wait, you can't answer that question already. Oh wait, what happened to Kevin?
Oh,
Kevin,
my
no.
camera died.
Here's
Podcast
the question:
over.
are you guys truly friends or using each other for clout?
Yes.
Ooh, that one's good. That one.
This
that's
is like
that's
a
gonna
big
be a
game of
deep,
prisoner's
dirty
dilemma.
answer. If you want to hear the truth about us being friends in real life, or if it is just purely a business relationship, you're gonna have to pay money. You're gonna have to pay.
I think that
money.
answers the question. Next.
This question is: this channel should be hacked for nefarious purposes. Agree or disagree?
What channel?
You know, I think that hinting at the questions probably is actually going to make this push to Patreon even worse.
What questions are these?
They're on the server, the exclusive Discord server you get access to as
you join,
a
you can ask-
Patreon member of the Safety Third
If you
podcast.
join, you can ask better questions.
You get exclusive content immediately to videos like eating dog food or human food, where we eat dog food. That's right. We will do anything for money.
Is that one out?
Yeah, that one's been out for a while. And I really think that I should figure out how to publish it publicly. You know what? Screw it. I'm just going to do it now.
Wait, what? You're just going to post it live?
I'm just going to publish. Yeah. I'm just going to live publish the dog food video.
You're just going to post.
Chelsea's like, yeah?
So go watch the dog food video. There's more of that where that came from, but not really, because that was just a really good video.
Yeah, that's a banger. Verified banger. I can't do it right now. I'm not logged in.
No, you shouldn't.
I'll do it. We'll do it. Do I have to do it right now? What if we do it right when this podcast posts? Or do we just do it now?
Live.
Do it live? Damn it. Okay, give me a second. This is going to take me like...
Should this podcast be ending?
Hi, guys.
Hey, yo.
It's so good to see you.
Yeah, sure.
No, I just saw you this morning on screen.
Right.
Yep.
As did I.
And-
I watched it this morning.
Every time I'm astonished by the same things. Number one, Charlie looks exactly the same to me. I'm sure if you did a side by side,
Yeah, that's
but
a generous-
in my mind, that's what you look like.
Sure.
And Glenn is incredibly funny, like in ways that I forget about, and then I'm reminded of, and then I'm reminded of being in the editing room and watching both of you guys, and just being like, what the fuck? How am I gonna catch up with these guys?
He's unintentionally insulted both of us. Did you notice that? He said, "You look young, but I'm funny."
Yeah.
So in other words, you look young, but you weren't that funny.
Yeah,
And I'm funny,
but
I
you're
look like
looking
shit.
old. Yeah.
I'm starting to look
But you
old.
know what it is? That's such a pessimistic way of looking at things.
Yeah.
It's all right.
I picked up on it too.
I saw your
I was
face.
like, I'm pretty fucking funny in that episode, man.
You're unbelievably my God. This is what it's like, listeners, this is what it's like working with these guys.
No, it isn't.
They
Rob,
take no compliments. They turn them into
Insults.
well, in my mind, you guys are both those guys as well. So even though we're much older and many, many years have passed, decades actually, you guys, those are still. When I look at you, I see those two younger guys.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
If I look closely, I see the difference.
Yeah, I don't have to look that close.
I love this episode.
Me too.
Yeah,
I love this
I really
You know
enjoyed
what I
it.
really like? Just the beginning scene of us just sitting at the table, and it feels loose and real in a way, and conversational, where we're just not going for any jokes too hard, but it's also really funny, but it's very natural.
Well, and in that first scene, it was not written in the script that you couldn't read.
That's right.
That document, that was something that you just wanted to do. You were like, I'm going to try something.
Yeah.
And you just like,
And I distinctly remember you, Glenn, being like, this is so dumb. And then me being like, I think it's dumb too, but it's also funny. And you're like, wait, are we literally saying, we're on set, and you're like, are we literally saying that Charlie can't read?
right.
And we were like, and Charlie's like, yeah, I guess so. I guess
and
that's what
me being
we're
like,
doing.
guys, I got you guys covered on this one.
Let me put you on my shoulder.
This is gonna play. This is gonna play.
You were right.
I don't remember having objections to it, but so I don't know why I would object to him doing one take. Or
No,
one or two takes.
it wasn't certainly like, hey, don't do that. It was more like, wait, are we making a massive character choice right now on the fly in the middle of a scene?
But this is a funny thing about Charlie Day, not Charlie Kelly, but Charlie Day, is that he is both constantly making his own character dumber and dumber.
Yes.
And also complaining about how dumb his character's getting. To
Yes.
us, as we're
Yes.
writing things, we
Well,
have
that was the
him-
clown baby. That's the clown baby
This is true.
conversation.
This is a very true thing that you're pointing out.
Yeah. You know what I mean? You yourself just admit you're like, trust me, this is gonna play, you know, and
Yeah.
you know, sort of implying that you had to talk us into, you know, giving your character like an incredibly, you know, stupid character trait. I mean, a funny one, but a stupid one. A character trait that makes him stupid. But yeah, as we're writing it, you're always upset that you feel like your character's getting too clownish and too dumb.
Yeah.
I guess we did talk about that in the last one, didn't we?
Yeah, clown baby.
Yeah, the clown.
Yeah,
baby.
or now, like in the later years, not clownish enough or something.
Right,
you know?
right.
No, I'm constantly doubting my things. I'm just very sure of my opinions that I then later doubt.
Well, yeah. Well, yes.
In the moment, I'm crystal clear, and then weeks after the fact, I'm just like, I don't know.
That's a good quality though.
Well,
Keeps things
yeah,
moving
because
forward.
I think you have both things in your head at the same time. You recognize how funny it is when your character sometimes is really stupid, or maybe even stupider than it even makes sense for the character to be, given what we've shown the character to be like in the past or whatever. That it's super duper funny, but you're afraid of losing like the grounded quality and like the real feelings and intentions that the character like really needs stuff, and that he really exists as a real person in this world. And yet, when we go too far in that direction, you're like, oh, you're upset. You get upset that you're not getting enough funny shit to do. Like you're making him too, like we're making him too real,
Or he's just the voice of reason.
voice of
sometimes.
reasoning.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't know. It's funny. It's a kind of a push pull in that way. I weirdly feel like.
We all have that. You have that with like how evil your character might get, right?
I do.
Where you're
Yes,
like,
that is true.
This is too arch, too evil.
Totally.
You know?
Yeah. And yet I also push it in arch and evil directions myself. So I do the exact same thing, because I'm always like, is it getting too serial killery, too creepy?
This is the creative process, right? It's
Am I a serial killer? Am I not?
Yeah.
That's the process.
This is the process.
Right.
You kill one person, you're like,
Well, I'm a murderer, but I'm
for
not
me.
serial.
Not for me. That's I didn't get the satisfaction
stop.
out of that, and then you stop, right?
So you're a murderer, but you're not a
Right.
serial murderer.
Then you
It's
try
the
it.
second one.
You try it again, and you're like, okay, maybe I'm starting to see something to this, right?
Okay.
And then
It's
by
definitely easier the second
By the
time.
third and fourth, you're like, it'd be cool if I could taunt the cops a little bit. So you start with like messaging, right? You know,
Right.
and then next thing you know, you look back on it, and you've got a great body of work.
You're like, how can I make a whole sentence? Like, can I make a whole sentence or only one word out of this guy's teeth?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You start
I'm gonna
thinking.
need
you
more.
start
I'm
having
gonna
those-
need more guys to
I'm
get
gonna
the
need more teeth.
sentence. So I'll start with a phrase at a time, and then the cops will put it together, and then
Right.
by the time I've collected
Right.
all
Each
the-
victim, you can make one word out of their teeth, and then you put it all together, and there's a message in there.
That's the creative process, and I'm sure
That's the creative
For all you potential murderers out
yeah,
there.
and I'm sure a lot of the murderers are like, am I going too far with the messaging here? You know, like, am I too psychotic? And then they complain. They're like, oh, this other guy's way more psychotic than me. I just
Yeah, that's right. Right. They don't want to be looked down on as just simply crazy. It's like, you don't call me crazy. I'm a genius. I'm an artist. You know what I mean?
Right.
They're almost upset. But then some other serial killer does something that's way crazier than what you did, and you're like, well, don't show me up.
Well, no,
I mean,
are they changing with the times as well? Are they looking at their body of work and saying, I need to be more inclusive, right? So they're
I see.
changing with the culture as well.
In other words, they feel like I've killed too many white ladies.
Exactly.
I need to,
we need to expand
open it up.
Yeah.
Sure, I'm sure
Yeah,
they feel
to
those
mark
pressures.
out. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, everyone
Understood.
does. They don't want to get
Yeah.
canceled for that.
Sure.
I would actually say that there's an argument to be made that like making Dennis a serial killer, or like we're suggesting that maybe he is potentially less evil than what we're kind of doing in these episodes, because once you go to that place, you're like, oh, this is like a cartoon. It's very clearly satire. Whereas this one, like Charlie is like in this woman's apartment.
Yeah.
And just like casually, she's saying no over and over and over again. And Charlie's like,
Right.
being like, I'm not leaving. And like,
But he's so likable that
I know he's still lovable. He gets away. He gets away with it. But when you look at it and you're like, well, we're not really commenting on that aspect of it. So we were like blind to that because we were like, oh, well,
No,
everybody loves
not
Charlie.
at all. We weren't remotely blind to that. Like, are you kidding me? Like, completely aware that was inappropriate for the character to be doing, and that's where the humor was coming from, which is like, this poor girl has to deal with this guy's terrible behavior.
yeah.
She was only 11 when we shot that.
Well, and then by the way, we also then then in this episode suggests that she's a terrible person as well, which is the first time we really okay, now that actually brings up an interesting thing, because there's a very massive inconsistency in this episode that makes no sense.
What is that?
And the reason it makes no sense is because we aired this episode after an episode that was previous to this.
Oh, the Mac bangs Dennis's mom episode?
Yes. So we're talking about the waitress as if Frank didn't sleep with her, which he does in the episode, right?
Yeah.
So I remember what happened was FX loved that episode so much, and we did. Frank
That one and the
mom.
welfare one.
Yes.
Which they pushed both of them up.
Yes.
And $100.
And they were like, we want to put these in the front and kick this one to the later part of the season. And we were like, that doesn't really make any sense because it doesn't really track. We know that Dennis slept with her. That happened
in season 1.
Yes,
Yeah.
but we don't know that. But then Frank says, Frank's with Charlie's with the waitress girl. It doesn't make any sense, and the network was like, we don't care. And at the end of the day, it doesn't seem like the audience cared.
Yeah, it was supposed to be the third episode. It was supposed to come right after the gang goes jihad. I mean, that's what we're talking about in the beginning. Like, we burned a building down. I mean, I think you could easily miss that if you're not tracking the arc of it. You'd just be like, I guess they burned a building down. I don't know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, or they finally went to court for it.
Right.
Yeah, but I think it just plays like Dennis slept with her in the past. But it didn't bump me so much with the
conversation.
Frank thing.
It's the conversation
Frank.
with Frank where he's just like, what's the deal with this waitress and who is she? Like, he had sex with her.
Yeah.
But all he
And
said,
then she freaked out, and then you cried.
All he says is that Charlie's with that waitress,
Which
girl.
was a fake tear, I remember.
Was it?
Well, no, it wasn't. No, you know what it was though? It was just
you held your eyes open.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a
My
good
eyes
move.
were nice
No,
and
that's
dry.
a real tear, though. I was making funny because I remember how you worked hard to get that out, and it worked so well with the timing of it. So I
The
was just
timing
giving
were
you
good,
shit.
but like, no, the trick and the technique for young aspiring actors at home is sometimes you do a few takes, you can really get it. Sometimes you're like, oh, we need one more, and you're like, well, I can't fucking get a tear out.
Right.
And if you just don't blink for a while, those eyes get nice
Mm-hmm.
and dry.
Or they
and
come
then-
and blow those crystals into your eye.
Yeah,
But I don't remember.
We
the
didn't
action
we
doing
didn't have a crystal budget.
What are those? It's like menthol crystals. So
Yeah.
this
probably
is
great
kinda,
for your eyes.
a lot of people don't realize this, but yeah, a lot of crying actors. People who probably won Oscars. Off of a crying scene where really all that happened was a makeup artist came and they have this thing where they blow air through what is it? Oh yeah, menthol crystals.
Menthol crystals.
And so it's literally blowing minty menthol air directly into your eyes right before you shoot something. So you're just crying like a motherfucker because it really stings.
Yeah. No, this is amazing. That's how sometimes they get kids to cry.
Yeah.
Now think about this, listeners.
Right.
They're literally taking children and blowing menthol crystals into their eye to get them to cry.
People already don't like us out here in Hollywood.
Speaking
Don't tell them that.
abusing the children, the kids in this episode
Great.
are fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Their little performances, little because they're little, but like the kid who gets like spiked on the back with the pin,
Yeah.
he nails like the the
feeling.
realness of like getting nailed with that pin. It's great.
Yeah.
Flip flop kid, man.
Flip-flop
kid,
Flip-flop
amazing.
kid.
Yeah,
the
flip-flop.
kid in his socks who raises his hand. Thanks, Dad. Yeah.
That part makes me laugh so hard. Like, just
I've
like,
forgotten. Yeah.
basically like implying that like this kid is the one father figure this kid has ever had.
Yeah.
And it's
And you quickly crush his dreams.
I'm not sure. Yeah.
I remember that we shot that basketball. By the way, I think the direction of this episode is really good. Dan Attias again.
Yeah.
Like the coverage is good, and we shot that basketball sequence first up in the morning. And I had gotten to set and I'd had my breakfast burrito and a full like cup of coffee and got out and started running around. I remember being like, I'm gonna throw up all over these kids.
And yet you did some pretty extraordinary physical feats.
Oh,
in
that
that
one
episode.
shot is so great.
Yeah,
the
the one
one
that just
shot, and I
keeps-
remember it was just
Yeah.
continuous,
Yeah.
where he throws the ball at the 30 again, and then continuously
I
comes
blood
back.
dry
and
stuffed that kid so
stuff
hard. It was
him, man.
great.
That felt good.
Oh, of course.
This
yeah.
feels good to stuff somebody, even if
And
they
that was,
can't.
it's not like that was planned. It's not like this was a
was a free-for-all.
well choreographed
No,
sequence.
it was a total free for all. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we thought it was so funny that we went and got an extra spiking shot. Where
We
we're
did.
Like, there's another shot where I spike a kid. We're like, let's just get a close up, like from low of me stuffing some.
Yeah.
This is the first time, I think, maybe I'm incorrect. I think this is the first time we refer to D as a bird. Because I remember later on you guys are talking about her as Larry Bird, but I
Yeah.
say that she looks like Big Bird.
Yeah, and this wasn't even the first time. Like, this wasn't the beginning of us calling her a bird. The beginning of us calling her a bird was the Larry Bird joke in the serial killer episode in season 3. It just happens to be a joke that happened a year before we sort of discovered that joke.
Yes, because she did.
Because she did look like Big Bird. But that was based on, I remember us looking up, talking to costumes and like being like, we had a very specific idea in our head of like what this pantsuit should look like, and finding pictures on the internet to show the wardrobe department to be like, this is the kind of pantsuit that we're, we want her to wear.
Yeah.
I love the
Was there a specific coach? Wasn't there a specific coach that used to wear pantsuits like that or something?
There was a woman,
female basketball coach?
one of the most successful female coaches of all time. Her name's Pat. We'll have to look up. Matt, can we do a little research? I think her name was Pat. Her first name was Pat.
Okay.
She used to wear a nice solid pantsuit.
Yeah,
I think
just
we used her as a reference.
One color, just top to bottom pantsuit.
I feel like I remember there being some discussion about that outfit, being like, is this too cartoony?
I don't remember. Yeah, maybe.
Pat Summit.
Pat Summit.
Pat Summit.
And are you finding pictures of Pat Summit? And is she wearing a unicolor pantsuit? Let's have a look. Oh, yeah,
And
there it
she is. I believe. Yeah, there's Pat.
There it is.
Yeah.
Good for her.
Yeah.
Does it upset you guys to think about the fact that the kids that are in that episode are probably 35 years old now?
Yeah, that's disturbing.
Yeah.
They're maybe
Yeah.
not that old, but they're probably, I mean, how old are they? They're definitely in their mid to late 20s.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, definitely. Right? Because they were 11. Oh,
Let's say
they're
they
in
were
their late 20s.
Let's say they were 11 years old in 2006. So yeah, they're like 26, 27 years old now.
Oh, sure.
Wow.
Hey, maybe this is interesting. Basketball, huh? Robbie used to play a lot of basketball. He used to go to the Y.
Oh yeah,
That's
Rob-
actually true.
And
Rob's
you
a big basketball
You
player.
did play basketball. No, I
And
was not a
Glenn-
good basketball player.
Glenn, you played basketball too,
We played
right?
every Saturday.
We played every Saturday, yeah, with Chris Backus.
Chris Backus, who's come up
is
a number of
We're
times.
gonna make sure we find a way to mention Chris Backus.
We gotta bring him on the show.
every single
Do you
episode.
miss it? Do you miss your basketball playing days? Do you have regrets? Do you feel as though you could have accomplished more? Walk us through your playing days and.
It was fun. I mean, yeah, it was like Saturday.
It was
Saturday
great.
morning. It was fun. It was actually something to look forward to because like all
yeah.
week long we'd have like no auditions, or maybe you'd get an audition and then there would be like nothing to do. Then I'd work at the fucking restaurant. Glenn didn't. He'd be watching movies. Or,
Well, yeah, I had a lot of that 80s show.
If
money,
you
so-
guys are going head to head in a game of hoops, who's winning?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, at this point, I have no clue.
if I could outlast his body because he's got some back issues. Oh no! Remember, you fucked your ankle up. You
Yeah,
rolled your ankle
that's why I
real
stopped.
bad one time.
That's why I
Like,
stopped.
like straight to the emergency room. Shit.
Correct.
Yeah.
Did you take me to the emergency room? Who took me to the
No,
emergency
I had to keep playing, man. I was
No,
hot
no.
hand. No, I think I
I
did.
think you did take me to the emergency room. Thanks, buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was we used to play. I was the same way. I really, really enjoyed that game. It was super, super fun. We would all play, and then a lot of times we'd go get brunch afterwards. Just a bunch of sweaty dudes eating
How long
waffles.
did you wait in that emergency room? Quite a while. I'm going to
I don't remember. God, I don't even remember. I think we went to. I don't even remember what emergency room we went to. I feel like we drove all the way to Cedar Sinai.
I think we came back over the other side of the
Yeah,
hill.
because we lived in West Hollywood. I
Yeah.
think you took me to Cedar Sinai.
And then Antrione.
Oh, Antrione.
Met us there. Yeah.
Yeah, my
But
girlfriend
you're-
at the time.
But he probably went right in because I remember we thought it was like broken. It was like his
Yeah,
leg.
but they'll let you sit in
yeah. fair enough.
Yeah,
waiting room with the You could have your foot dangling off your body. They'd be like, all right, take a seat.
Right. Yeah. I don't remember it being that bad, but I do remember I came down. What happened was I went up for a layup and I came down on someone's foot, which is something that happens in basketball all the time, and it was audible.
Yeah.
You could hear it.
We
You
thought
could
it broke.
hear
We
it
thought
through the
broke.
gym.
You were screaming. I remember we were like, this guy fucking broke everything.
It was. I still shiver thinking about it. Like it traumatized me to the point where after that, even after it healed and was like totally healed, I was never the same again. I was never that great of a basketball player. The one thing I had going for me was I was fast and I was aggressive. And but I was never that skilled because I always regretted never going to basketball camp. I had so many friends who went to basketball camp and they had the fundamentals. It was
Got better with that left hand.
But
and-
at the end of the day, it's a fucking tall man sport, and we're not tall. So like, there were a couple guys there, a few guys there that could literally dunk. Backus being one of them.
Right.
The other guy who you were friends with, he could dunk. And like,
Who?
you're like playing He's an actor.
Oh, Steven?
No, not Steven. Tall guy. He was on a bunch of TV shows too. He was like one of the workingest.
Oh,
of-
Josh.
Josh, yeah.
Right.
And these guys could dunk. And we were like, at the end of the day, it's like playing volleyball with a guy that's 6'7". Like you're gonna,
Yeah.
there's no, you got no shot.
There's a lot of sports where height is definitely an advantage, and basketball inarguably is one, which is pretty much why I was like, fuck
But I remember
basketball.
playing with
Fuck
our
this.
buddy Michael Trotter,
Trotter's
who
awesome.
was shorter than me. He's like 5'9",
Yeah.
5'10", maybe.
He's an extreme outlier.
Extremely good athlete, but also like he went to tons of basketball camps, right? So he had great handles, like he could really dribble the ball, and I just never could do. It's really sad too, because I mean, I literally, basketball was my favorite sport. I played it every single day growing up.
Yeah.
I played so much basketball well into my mid to late 20s that it really makes no sense that I was not ever very good.
I'll tell you, if I recall correctly, the real reason we stopped, because I think you were, I think you came back and then we.
I did.
There were a couple of fights that almost broke out.
Yeah.
Or like literally
gets
holding
tense
guys
out
back.
there, yeah.
And we were
It
like,
gets
what
heated.
are we doing?
Somebody
even in
elbows
my
somebody.
earlier, we were in our mid-20s, I was like, I don't want to get into fistfights anymore. Like that's gone. But guys took it very seriously. And then it just kind of fell
It was
apart.
funny to see like the guys that would roll through too, because it was kind of, they were like actors and managers. I remember Aaron Paul rolled through at one point. This was like long before Breaking Bad. This is we're talking 2002, 2003. I remember Aaron Paul rolling through. I remember Jared Padalecki. Is that how you pronounce his name? The guy from
Oh yeah.
Supernatural.
That's right. Yeah, he's tall.
Super tall.
Super tall.
And was
goddamn
also a very
handsome.
good.
This is the kind of shit. Good basketball player, tall, handsome. And I was like, I don't need this in my life.
Making you
Yeah.
feel bad about
me feel
yourself.
bad about
yeah, make you
myself.
feel small and ugly.
Small and ugly
untalented.
and untalented and
not even-
unathletic.
Right.
And then they want to pick a fight with me, and I got to run out of there because they'll kick my fucking ass. I lose in every way.
No. You were pretty scrappy. Dude.
No,
No,
come
I
on.
yeah.
You're pretty scrappy when it came to fighting. But you remember.
I'm putting my money on you in that fight.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, all day,
well,
all day.
I don't know.
That anger.
Yeah.
We'll do a side bet. We'll bet against.
yeah, definitely.
We did a whole episode about that.
Yeah. Do you remember the Baldwin brothers showing up?
Yes.
Daniel Baldwin.
Which two?
Yeah.
There were
Not the- yeah.
not Steven, not Alec. Daniel and Billy.
Billy's great.
Okay.
Yeah, Billy's nice, and Billy, who I did a pilot with back in 2003 called EDNY.
Yeah.
So I kind of knew Billy a little bit.
Which one is the one in Usual Suspects?
That's Steven.
Steven.
I sat next to Stephen Baldwin on a Southwest airline flight to Las Vegas. I got a middle seat, and I was jammed between like Stephen Baldwin and his like parole officer or somewhere. It was like like sober coach or
Oh,
something.
you guys were all in coach?
Well, that's Southwest, so I think it's all. I don't think there is a first class in Southwest. Really quick, I'm not gonna waste the money. I was flying to Las Vegas.
course.
Really quick.
What year are we talking about here?
This is recently. This is like 5 years ago. We're gonna take a private jet to Vegas just
Yeah.
to go.
Listen, I think that's what the fans expect. You know, I think they think that that's the lifestyle.
Sure. They watch an episode like this, and they're like, these guys got private jets.
He's got this is a
They
private
own
jet.
them.
Yeah.
That's right.
No,
No,
I
we
was,
don't. Guys, we don't.
I was. I was. I didn't get the best seat. I didn't get the best Baldwin.
Charlie, did you ever play basketball?
Sure.
The way you stuffed those kids certainly seemed to imply that you did.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, in my neighborhood, you played every sport, right? I was
Right.
with my buddies, and
Yeah.
we played plenty of basketball. But I was never any good at it. Terrible at it.
I would say that Charlie is definitely the most athletic out of the three of us, which I think people. I don't know if the people find that hard to believe, but they're like when people play certain sports with you, they are surprised by how good you are at them. Like you're a natural, you can swing something.
I like to.
Yeah.
I feel as though it flusters people, which I enjoy.
Yeah.
You know, where they're like, why can't I drive a golf ball for this guy?
Absolutely.
I'm like, fuck.
Oh yeah, that is
Fuck
true.
you.
Golf and baseball for sure. You've got
And
the
hockey.
advantage.
So
Yeah.
we've been on
Hockey,
ice.
yeah,
We've been on
yeah,
ice on the, in
sure.
the
Oh, yeah,
show,
right.
And I had to like go out there and like learn how to skate, and like I looked terrible. terrible, and I'm trying to, and then we would just fuck around, and it just picked it right back up.
I was into sports. I played a shitload of sports.
We could
Well, I
beat
was
him.
in
We could
sports
beat
too,
him
I
at ping
just
pong.
sucked.
We could beat him at ping pong though.
You guys could be
All day.
that you could. I'm terrible at a racket sport.
Really? You should have
Something
that same
about that-
hand-eye coordination.
Yeah, but the angles don't make. And I also want to hit something as hard as I can and
Right.
have it go as far as I can. And
Right.
but
You want to bash?
I want to bash it. But
I remember watching the Boggs episode, which we'll talk about at some point. But we're obviously on a field there, and you don't usually see yourself on camera throwing something. You just think, oh, I can throw a ball right
Yeah.
from the mound to the plate. And I remember watching it on camera and being like, is that the way I throw? And you guys being like, yes. And I'm like, oh, that is so unathletic. But then when you took a cut, like you swung the ball, I remember being like, this doesn't even make any sense. He's supposed to be hammered, and why would Charlie Kelly know how to hit that well? It looked like a true baseball player's swing.
Well, he played.
yeah, well, of course,
Baseball.
He made
Probably
that
play
baseball.
Little League or whatever. Were
but you play-
were you throwing with your dominant hand, or was that a camera angle thing where we're like, Rob, you're gonna have to throw this one with your right hand because we're.
No, I was throwing with my dominant hand. We should go back. We'll talk about that when we go
You're
to
a little
Boggs,
bit
'cause
ambidextrous though. Which
I
hand do you
can't-
throw with?
I throw with my left.
You've made great strides in golf, I will say. When we first started playing, I was like, well, it won't be his thing, and you've gotten quite good.
Yeah.
Glenn, we'll eagerly await you.
I'll get
your
there.
presence.
I'll get
out
there. I'll
Come-
get there.
Come join us.
Took me a second to come around on dogs, and now I'll come around on golf eventually.
All right. Well, I'm
Yeah.
sure we're thrilling the audience here. Should we talk about something more salacious?
Sure. Let's.
We probably could not make this episode in this day and age. We could probably not make the joke where you're only picking the black kids.
Oh, yeah.
For your basketball
I
team.
don't know.
I think we get away with that.
You think
you
so?
could-
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's the characters stereotyping.
Look, I agree.
Yes.
But I do feel as though right now we're living in a place where like, well, this is just highly inappropriate, and
I think we would just take a look at it and say, well, what's the best way to make clear that this terrible characters making this choice and not the show itself? Like
Yes.
the casual, like that's where we get into, I think, some issues with previous episodes where we're doing it what's seemingly casual, like as a show,
Right.
Where it was like we're just using slurs or whatever, not calling them out.
yeah.
And
There's-
I think this episode's okay in that. I think.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think so too.
some of the Asian stuff is dicey.
No, yeah.
But it's not that. You said that he was in Vietnam and that he was he has a gambling addiction. So
Yeah, and these are his gambling buddies.
these
We're
are
not
his
saying
gambling
everyone
buddies.
from Vietnam is that way. We're just saying that his buddies are that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I know what you mean. Yeah, you could be a little dicey here and there. We established in this episode that that the waitress is an alcoholic.
Yeah.
Which was another thing that we had established in this episode. Oh, by the way, got to do a shout out for my buddy Patrick Callahan, who plays the AA. What do you call the person who leads the meeting? The meeting leader? I don't even know.
Sure.
I don't know. Because I'm not well.
Oh, I am.
So what do you guys think? Are you alcoholics?
Yes.
I think.
Are
Look,
you?
I've taken a really good long look at it, and as we all know, I'm currently not drinking, but I
Well,
think
that's supposed to be anonymous.
I think I have tendencies, but I actually don't think I am an alcoholic. I
No?
think an actual alcoholic literally has no control over it, like cannot stop. And I
don't know
when
that's how AA defines
when
it,
I
though,
want
right?
to stop, I can just stop,
You can just stop.
and I think that's I don't fixate on it.
It's a common theme among alcoholics. I can stop whenever I want.
Yeah, but only they can't.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
except
think
they can't.
dependency is the key, but I think like AA specifically, or even just
Well, it's also an obsession with it, right? Like, so
Yes.
if every night you're like, okay, I'm not going to have a drink tonight, and you actually don't.
just the
But
fact
if
that you're thinking about
the fact
it
that
and
you're thinking about it,
working on it.
yes, and that you're having to make that a very conscious, decision to not have a drink.
Well, I
that
do a lot
night.
of rationalization around it. So it's like, it's something I think about, right? So like I have family members who drank themselves to death. I mean, literally to death.
Yeah.
Like sclerosis, right? But then you'd find out like, oh, he would wake up every day and he would start his day in the morning with a drink.
Right.
And not stop until he went to sleep.
Right.
So I would see that and then I go, oh, well, I'm not that. I have one Manhattan every night.
Yeah.
But if I don't, I'm like, I kind of have that Manhattan.
Gotta
Yeah,
get
but
that Manhattan in me.
the fact that you can have one, that's like, I don't know. Sure, that's a habit, not an addiction. I think.
Alcoholism light. Alcoholism light.
Yeah.
I think if that's a term, I'm sure that isn't.
If you're spending your entire day thinking about that Manhattan, then that's,
I don't.
Yeah, that's a different.
Yeah, because
thing.
you know you're gonna have it.
Yes.
You know.
But sometimes, okay, this is a bad sign. Sometimes I'll say to myself, well, let's just not have one tonight. And then when I get to that point, I'm like, well, I'll just have one.
just one. Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
It's just one.
Well, you're addicted to one Manhattan. I don't think that's so bad.
No, it's not. It's not the worst thing in the world.
That's okay.
It's so good.
Yeah.
But if you said you want to have a Manhattan right now, I have no interest.
Well, that's good. That means that I'd say.
Whereas with smoking, I know some people that can just have a couple of cigarettes from
I
time
was
to
always
time.
that way.
Yeah, you were
Yeah,
that
that
way.
was
I
incredible.
never could do that.
No,
Yeah.
but like when you were smoking and I was smoking, and we were like, you know what, let's do the podcast, but can we make this a smoking room?
Yeah.
We would just be hacking butts in here.
Yeah. I wouldn't.
I
be
mean,
in
I
here
haven't
with-
had a cigarette in
Long time.
almost 20 years, but like,
I have. Oof.
yeah.
Yeah, but I can just have one on the rare occasion. I'll just have like one, and it's great.
Yeah, I
Glorious.
can't. I wish I could do that. I probably could, but
You probably
at this
could.
point, I'm like, why bother?
Yeah.
That's
No,
the thing.
I think the pandemic has probably not done a lot of us too many favors with regard to
Alcohol. abuse.
drinking. Yeah, alcohol abuse.
Scam-demic. It's just a total scam by the alcohol companies trying to get us to drink more, man.
It worked.
It worked.
Yeah.
It sure did, boy.
Yeah, sure did.
It was funny because there was a time where, because I never used to drink at home, really, which may be a surprise to people. I assume that I drink all the time, but I don't. I used to almost never drink at home. It made no sense to me. It made no sense to me ever. I was one of those people like, wouldn't drink all week, and then I'd go out on Friday night.
Me too.
And get absolutely
Me
hammered.
too. That's what I would do too.
Yeah, but Monday through Friday, Monday through Thursday or whatever, Sunday through
No,
Thursday.
look, when you and I lived together,
Yeah.
we would never drink
No,
during the week.
no.
Ever, at all.
I don't even know that we even kept beer in the fridge.
No.
Maybe, I don't know.
And but then Friday night, we'd just go get blackout drunk.
Yeah, exactly. So I'd make up for it over the weekend, by getting absolutely hammered. But yeah, it wasn't like a, and then and drinking was always like, it was like a special
and social.
Yeah, it was a social thing. But that's when it got weird for me. It was like over the pandemic, I started like, let me just have a glass of whiskey or whatever. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it was nice. Loose, put the kids to bed. You're kind of loose, a little more giggly than usual, just whatever. And then I remember there being like almost a switch where I was like, I would have a drink and I'd be like, just made me tired. And I'm like, why isn't this fun anymore? And it was somebody.
Because I got to have two. That'll
would
make it
sometimes-
fun.
Yeah, because
By the way, that is what would happen. I would have this. I'd be like, well, the second one that'll get me going, and then I'd
That
just
just
be
made you angry.
more tired and irritated.
Yeah, you're not able to get that dopamine rush because you're doing it all the time.
Well, and also, but I think it also isn't. Somebody had to point this out. I was like, I don't know why. It doesn't feel the same. And they were like, yeah, because you used to drink socially. Now you're just drinking.
Yeah.
Not socially. It's just your kids are screaming and you're drinking.
Yeah.
And it's making you irritated. And I'm like, oh yeah, that is what's happening.
I just got to the point where I'm like, my body and my life was like, that's what I can't like. What, I have a couple beers every night for the rest of my life. What am I doing? It's not
because
serving
you
me.
love beer.
I love beer.
That's
yeah.
your thing. So
I'm a
you would
beer
drink
guy.
beer. So yeah.
It's a high calorie alcohol habit.
It's a high, sure. I don't really care about
And it's
that.
a lot,
so much
but it's
as
a
like,
lot of liquid.
Yeah, sure.
I'm not suggesting, but it's like it's more of a commitment. Like I can drink a Manhattan in like I think like 10 minutes.
But
But then I would be like, well, I need something to be sipping on now.
Yeah.
Just for the habit
that's
of
the
it.
good thing about a beer is it lasts longer. Because if
Yeah.
you drink fast,
That's true.
Yeah.
I love alcohol. I mean, I just do.
Well, so maybe you are an alcoholic.
Yeah. No, I said yes.
He had
Take
said
it
it
up.
right off the bat.
Yeah.
He said that
All
he
right.
was.
Well,
Yeah, I said yes.
Yeah.
It hasn't ruined my life. All signs are pointing towards things continuing.
Not yet. It takes one decision to get behind that wheel. And then,
100%. That I'm very careful about that. I do not drink and drive.
No, that's
that'll do it.
that's the best thing about Uber. That is like a saving lives left and right.
Yeah.
Guys, this episode brought to you by Honda. Honda.
Have you guys ever done community service?
Yes.
Yeah, me too.
Yep.
Oh boy, really?
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
Interesting. Yeah. What did
Sure.
you have to do community service for, Charlie? What did you
I
do?
got busted drinking.
Alcohol.
Yeah. I definitely have been an alcoholic in periods of my life, for sure. But I was 20. I was 20 years old, and I was with a pack of other 20-year-olds. And cops busted in this party, and they're like, all right, someone just, snitch who bought the beer, and we'll let you go. And we're not a bunch of fucking snitches, so nobody said shit, and they arrested us all. and, we got to slap on the wrist, had to do community service.
How many hours do you remember?
I don't recall. I don't even really recall what I did for the community service.
You don't remember what you did?
No.
Must not have meant that much to you
Sure
to
did
do
it.
something for the community.
Sure did it.
Rob, what did you what
Well, a couple of times, but it was all similar things, like stupid, disturbing the peace and
Yeah.
drunkenness and
Yeah.
again, like in
bar
high school.
battery.
In high, right? No.
Assault and
You
battery.
like coming out of high school.
the peace. Here we are.
And it was peaceful.
Here we are.
Peaceful city of Philadelphia, and you're disturbing it.
We've been disturbed. Arrest that man.
What did you have to do for community service?
Like pick up trash on the side of the road.
Oh. Did they give you a choice? Or did they assign you something?
I don't remember. I think maybe, was it? Maybe they were like, well, you can either do this or either do that or something. I remember at one point in New Jersey, they gave you could either pay a fine or do the service.
Oh.
And then there was a class action lawsuit against New Jersey, and that got eradicated.
Yeah, because people who with money could just be like, all right, fuck it, I'll just pay.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's not fair. You're not doing a service to the community that way. Let's get this guy who's
Glenn?
disturbing the peace to do a service for the community. Maybe, yes.
You.
I made an extremely bad error in judgment when I was going to college down in Miami, Florida.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Arguably, out of the three of us, what you did could have got you into more trouble than us. But even
it's-
though we have all, go ahead, you tell the story.
Well, I mean, so yeah, I tried to get a fake driver's license from the DMV down in Miami, and they took that very, very seriously. And I was actually charged with, this is crazy to think about, I was charged with 4 felonies.
Yeah.
So technically, I have 4 felonies on my record. Now it got expunged because I was a first-time offender. So, they were lenient, but I don't think I could join the FBI. You know what I mean? Like so on a regular background check, it wouldn't come up. At this point,
Because everybody's got a fake ID, or at least we all had fake
Yeah.
IDs at one point, but they were actually fake.
Yes,
Or
this-
you'd get somebody else's documentation. But when you go in and try to pretend to be somebody else to get actual government issued, like legal documents,
Yeah.
that is, it's a felony.
it was a serious, serious offense. Every time I signed my name, they had me sign my name 4 times, and for every signature was a felony. They
threw the
book at me.
you.
They threw the
Florida
book
does
at me.
not fuck around.
Yeah, they're not really known for crime in Florida. Right?
Not really.
Like, yeah.
No. There's a pretty peaceful, well-adjusted people that living in
Well-
Florida. Wait, hold on.
Charlie's taking
So
more.
my community service. No, my community service. So I remember them giving me a giant
All right.
list of choices, and for some reason, I don't know why I chose this. I just thought it would be interesting. I'm like, well, if I'm going to do it, I want it to be something interesting, not something mindless. So I was actually an assistant English teacher. I would drive to this high school, which at night became a night school. And there were a bunch of Haitian immigrants that were there trying to learn English. And I was teaching them how to speak English. I don't know how.
They're like,
That's actually
give them the felon.
What?
I
Yes,
mean,
let the
that's
felon.
what.
Florida is the
That's
craziest
Florida
place.
is the craziest place ever.
Yeah.
This guy's
also
stealing
don't-
people's identities potentially. Let's introduce him to a room full of new immigrants.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
fucking
yeah.
nuts.
Yeah. And I don't speak, it's not like I speak French. So
No.
I couldn't, but most of them spoke well enough to where I could communicate
didn't
with
need
them. Yeah. But I wasn't the teacher. I was like the teacher's assistant. So I was there assisting. But it was a lot. I did like 80 hours
Yeah.
of that.
You were a felon.
It was, yeah.
Ooh, Well, there's 3 striking examples of white privilege.
100%. That's literally what I was thinking about as we were talking
Yeah,
about.
same. I
We're
was
talking about
like-
how fun it is to get arrested.
Yeah,
it's so
like,
fun. They,
what a
they slap
joke.
you on the wrist. They give you the community service, and that's it.
My experience was not fun, guys.
Well,
There's
you
much
did
more to my
something
story.
real serious.
There's much more to my story where I was in jail. I was in fucking prison. It was horrible.
Yeah.
It was horrible. Okay. I did not feel privileged at that particular moment in my life. But yeah, considering the final result, there's probably some privilege there. Yeah, for sure.
Well, see ya on the next one.
Yeah, I mean that's another good one.
That's a good one.
You know, or is it or bad one? I don't
I
know.
don't know.
And guys, this is the creative process.
Yeah.
You know, we just try these podcasts, and sometimes they work, sometimes they don't.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey guys, let's go get a drink.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's get into it because we got a little
Are we
bit
rolling?
a limited.
Yeah.
We got limited time here.
yeah.
So let's
Oh,
just.
do we? I thought you pushed your.
An extra 15 minutes, but still,
Hey,
you know.
all right.
Yeah, you know. Look, we got to talk about Rob's parking job this morning because it was fantastic. When you pull into a garage, by the way, when I pulled in, it was the only car in the garage.
So when I pulled in, there was no cars there,
Yeah,
and I was
yeah,
like,
yeah.
"Oh my god, I got to do this as quickly as possible and get out of the garage because it won't be funny if they pull in
Yeah,
right
it's
now."
very funny when
there was
there's no
no cars there.
So
Yeah.
for listener at home, Rob parked sideways, taking up 2 spots. And
But diagonally.
Yeah, diagonally. And
Sideways would have been incredible.
Yeah, diagonally. and specifically the spots that are labeled Charlie and Glenn. He took our spots and double parked, and boy, it made my morning, man. It made my day.
Did it? I had the exact opposite reaction. I was like, this is so fucking annoying.
I almost went to Rob's spot and did the same thing over there.
to take up so that I had nowhere to
So
park.
that you had nowhere to park, and I was like, no, it's fine. Just the one.
I would have come in furious.
I know.
Furious.
And so I let it be.
There is a world in which maybe I would have found that funny, and for some reason this morning, and I'm not in a bad mood or anything. I wasn't in a bad mood when I showed up, but for some reason I didn't find it funny. I recognize that it is funny. I will say that, but it's like one of those jokes where it's like if somebody pushes you in the pool, you know? Everybody thinks that's fucking funny, but it's like, you just pushed me in the pool, you motherfucker. You pushed me in the fucking pool. I'm fully clothed. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I need to fucking change my attitude or something. I saw actually.
It's your fault.